Alright, so this is going to be a review of the latest completely soulless and unnecessary Disney live-action remake. This is going to be Pinocchio 2022, as directed by Robert Zemeckis. And as you can probably already tell, I didn't like this movie at all. I'm trying not to make this a rant. I'm trying to stay calm. So this is pretty much the same story for the most part. So Geppetto, played by Tom Hanks, he creates a puppet, and this is to remind him, I guess, of his little boy, the one that died, I guess. I don't remember that being in the original, so that might be a new detail. It's been a minute. You also have Jiminy Cricket. He gets in there and starts messing around with the clocks and things, played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt. We'll get back to him. And so the Blue Fairy, played by Cynthia Erivo, she comes in, brings Pinocchio to life, makes Jiminy Cricket his conscience, and he has to prove himself in order to become a real boy eventually. So Geppetto wakes up, he's all happy, he sends him to school in the morning. It seemed like it was the next morning. He tries to go to school, a fox and a cat try to get him to be famous instead, so they can give him over to Stromboli, who runs a puppet show. But he ends up going to school anyway, but he gets kicked out. I don't remember that in the original movie. So he joins the puppet show with Stromboli, and he also goes to Pleasure Island and almost turns into a donkey, and also they get swallowed up by Monstro, who's a sea monster instead of just a whale in this. So that's another difference. But for the most part, it's the same story, pretty much. I was really underwhelmed, we'll say that. But I always like to do positives and negatives. So the kid that plays Pinocchio, Benjamin Evan Ainsworth, I thought he was good. I thought he sounded like Pinocchio for the most part. And there are some moments with Pinocchio that I did feel for him. Not to the same level, but they kind of worked. There's even some moments with Geppetto where he's looking at the picture of his son and things like that that actually do work at least a little bit. Not up to the same level as the original, but it's something. The score I thought was good and worked. There was something going on with the clocks in the very beginning too, where all the clocks are based on other Disney properties. I thought that was actually really cool. I like that. Yeah, so it started off okay for me with those clocks. And there's also an over-reliance on CG, but the whale at the end, Monstro, I don't like that he's a sea monster, it's completely unnecessary, but he actually did look pretty good. That is it. So let's start off with Jiminy Cricket, because the movie starts with him, because he's telling stories, narrating. He doesn't sound like Jiminy Cricket at all. To be honest with you, even the voice that he's doing, it sounds like it's going to cut out at some point. It sounds like he's struggling to get it out. I mean, it's terrible. It was really distracting throughout the movie.
Pinocchio's Pops.
Pops?
Yeah, Pops, Pappy, father. I mean, that is if Pinocchio here was a real boy.
Well, if Geppetto wanted a real boy, why would he carve a puppet?
Well, sure, there are other ways to make a boy, but I don't think Geppetto gets out much, and I guess it's the best he could do with the tools he's got.
Tom Hanks, because him and the other human characters have to kind of be cartoon characters, have to try to be like their cartoon counterparts, they have to put on these cartoony, pointless performances, and Tom Hanks is probably the worst because he's in the movie the most of the human characters. They ruined Stromboli, but he's not even in that much of it. Tom Hanks as Geppetto. First of all, he's got that gray wig and that mustache. He looks more like Einstein than he does Geppetto, I mean, if I'm being honest. But he has to play it up all wacky and, oh my God, oh, Pinocchio. And it comes off as farcical. It's just not good. I didn't see Elvis, but from the clips I've seen of him in that movie, it's almost like he's really trying to get a Razzie nomination. It's just not good. Everything, pretty much, well, every animal character, obviously, but everything there's an over-reliance of CG, and CG doesn't even look right for a live-action movie. Like, Pinocchio just looks like Pinocchio. He doesn't fit in a live-action movie or a live-action setting at all. At all. And also, I mean, you could have made him have like a darker wood or something like that. Make him look more real, like he's actually there. But they didn't, so it doesn't work. But also, the thing that really kept getting on my nerves, there's a bird in here that looks really fake, but also the cat. Forgot the cat's name. But the cat is a CG cat, very obviously a CG cat, a bad-looking CG cat. And I was thinking, that cat is spending most of the movie in Geppetto's bag. You couldn't have gotten a real cat? I mean, it doesn't have to look like the cat from the original movie, that's a small thing. Nobody would have cared if it would have just been an actual cat, a white and black cat. You know, I don't get it. At least for the parts where he's just in Geppetto's bag, at least. I mean, I don't know. That was distracting for me because it felt so unnecessary. It just pales in comparison in just about every way. That original movie gets me emotional multiple times throughout because I'm invested in Pinocchio. I really like the kid and want things to, end up well for him. I'm really rooting for him to get back with his father. I really feel for Geppetto, happy for him when Pinocchio becomes, becomes alive and then becomes a real boy at the end and things like that. You can connect with it on an emotional level. You can't really do that with this. It's just going through the motions while adding a little bit more details. Like the song "There Are No Strings on Me" from the original. This version is just so small and meaningless in comparison, whereas it was a great performance and it was fantastic in the original, fantastically animated and everything like that. Here it means nothing. Like I said, Stromboli is nothing. And it felt like when I was watching 2019 Aladdin during the Prince Ali part where it's so obvious they're on like a set and it's just so stiff and it just doesn't have the same imagination or any of that from the original Aladdin movie. It felt like that for me, where it's just, why even do this if you can't capture it even in a fraction of that original song originally. And there's also other songs. There's one song in particular, I'm pretty sure it's new. The person that brings them over to Pleasure Island has a song, and it was not good. It's easily the worst song in this movie. I wanted it to be over so bad. Pleasure Island looks all right. It looks like a theme park or whatever. It looks fine. They're not smoking cigars or anything like that. It's not as dark and impactful as it was in the original. But Pleasantville. I almost said Pleasantville. Pleasure Island looks all right. More added on details because they always have to add more to these things. Small things, whatever. But there's a new character that has a broken leg or hurt leg and wants to be a star. But then she just works the puppet, a puppet that Pinocchio like falls in love with or something like that. There's some kind of a romance there. Didn't work and was unnecessary. By the time she comes back, it's barely a subplot. By the time she came back, I was like, why do we even have this here? I forgot all about that. Unnecessary. It's like Mulan, where all of a sudden she was good from the beginning and there's like an anime power system in it where she can become almost a superhero. It's like, why? Like, it's stuff like that I just don't understand with Disney, man. I don't get it. So yeah, I guess that's it. It's exactly what you expect it to be. It's soulless, it's worthless, it's unnecessary. It doesn't have any of the heart or magic or emotion from the original movie. It's just, it's not good. The best thing that comes from these movies is that you better appreciate the original movie. Like that's it, really. Because it really does feel like they just grabbed the original movie and go, oh, we'll just make this again, but bad. I mean, that's basically what it is. So yeah, I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. I was fighting to give it a rental. Fighting, and it was fighting me back. It was like a boxing match. And finally, I just had to give up. So I'm giving this utter trash, and it's worthless. Don't even bother. Not even for curiosity. Out of curiosity's sake, don't even bother. Yeah, anyway. I think I'd rather watch that other Pinocchio movie. Didn't that come out this year? That really bad one? I think I'd rather watch that. I laughed at the trailer. Anyway, that's Pinocchio 2022, the newest live-action Disney remake, and we're done.